With the first pick in the 2025 NFL Draft, the Tennessee Titans select Cameron Ward, quarterback, Miami.
Hey, welcome to With the First Pick. Today, as the intro might suggest, we're looking back at the 2025 NFL Draft with something we didn't have in April, a little clarity. We've had 13 weeks. The NFL season is evidence. So I'm going to redraft the entire first round of that 2025 NFL Draft. We'll do it live here on the show. I feel like we're going to have a few day two steals and maybe even a day three player or two find their way into this first round. So I'm excited to see how this plays out. I'm Ryan Wilson. That's former Titans GM Rand Carthon. Rand, this is episode 315, and there are 141 days to the 2026 NFL Draft in Pittsburgh, PA. How you doing, good sir?
Hey, man, I'm just ready to get this thing going, see how many of these guys you actually steal from my board, because I know how you roll, how you get down. So I got my work cut out for me.
So if you've been watching or listening to the show the last few weeks, you know there's an ongoing feud between Rand and Giants fans with Jackson Dart. So we're going to see how Jackson Dart shakes out in this draft.
First of all, there's no feud between Rand and Giants fans. It may be Giants fans and me. I have no beef. I just speak my truth.
Right. Okay. Well, we'll see. We will see. Because what's interesting when you look at these redrafts is that, you know, sometimes you overdraft players in real time, and sometimes going back and re-looking at the draft, you might overdraft them again. So I want to see how this works out. Not necessarily talking about Jackson Dart. But look, before we jump in, drop in the comments one rookie who wasn't originally a first-round pick that you would absolutely take in round one right now. I'm curious to see if you're on the same page with me and Rand. I haven't talked to Rand about any of these things. I'll just ask you this as a little preview, Rand, before we get going here. And we're going to alternate picks. I'll go one, you'll go two, and the odd even in and out. Do you have some day two and day three guys that you're eyeballing as possible top 32s?
None of your business.
Oh, okay. You were shaking your head before I even got the sentence out of my mouth.
Because I knew what you were going to say. That's none of your business.
All right, well, we'll find out together. How about that? I have nothing to hide. I got some day two and day three guys on my board.
Good for you. Good for you.
By the way, how you like my James Earl Jones voice here? I got a little sore throat.
A little laryngitis.
A
little throat lozenges.
Yeah, I got him in. All right, let's go. Here we go. Producer Striker's with us as always. First up, the Tennessee Titans. And I almost thought about making a rule about no doubling down on the player you originally drafted. But if you're the Tennessee Titans, you don't have a choice. You got to take Cam Ward here. So I'm taking Cam Ward. He's gotten better as the season has progressed. Brian Callahan lost his job a few weeks ago, and they've mixed things up in the coaching staff, and they got to figure out that situation there. But I'm rolling with Cam Ward. And I said
why not Jackson Dart?
Because Cam Ward's playing better than Jackson Dart. He's also available more often than Jackson Dart. And I'll say this, and you tell me what you think about this. One of the thoughts I had as I was going through this, I went away from the idea of you can't draft the same guy because at some point, the Titans need to do it. The other rule I had was the best ability is availability, because some of these guys have been banged up for a while, and you and I talked a little bit about Travis Hunter and his availability, and we'll see how that plays itself out. But Cam Ward, he's outplayed Jackson Dart, and I have zero concerns about Cam Ward's abilities above the neck to stay focused and locked in and be that guy. They just got to get better players around him. So Cam Ward, first overall, Tennessee Titans. All right, you're going to mix it up here. Jacksonville Jaguars traded from 5 to 2 in the original draft. They took Travis Hunter, who is now on IR, and he hasn't lived up to expectations, in part mostly because he's been injured and maybe the miscast. What are you doing here, too, for the Jags?
No, I'm staying with the Travis Hunter pick. I think at the time, and I still think this was a really good pick for Jacksonville. Now, for Jacksonville, they just have to figure out how to play him. I know myself, I thought he was more of a corner that should have a package at wide receiver. They went the other way and had him as more of a full-time wide receiver with the package on defense. Obviously, that's how they saw him. That's their business. But for me, I would stay with this pick. I think it's a good pick, and they just have to figure out the best way to use him.
So I went through this little operation on my own here, and if I were the Jaguars, I'd have taken Ted McMillan. Now, he can't play cornerback. Maybe he can. I don't know. But just immediate return on investment. At the time, I know why you didn't do it. You thought Brian Thomas Jr. was going to be a little better than he was. All I'm doing is stall him because number 3 here, the New York Giants. And look, man, all I got to go on is what my eyeballs tell me. I don't know if Jackson Dart can play more than a year and a half. Is he the Cam Scadaboo of quarterbacks in that he refuses to go out of bounds? I mean, that dude got smoked by Christian Ellis on Monday night. And that is no way to live. That said, I'm taking Jackson Dart here at 3 to the Giants. They need a quarterback. You can't roll with Russ and Jameis this year because Brian Daboll would have gotten fired in week 2 instead of a few weeks later. So Jackson Dart at 3 instead of 25 over Abdul Carter. On a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being amazing, 0 being not great. Well, how would you grade this pick?
I will abstain because
you
and Giants. First of all, you are not going to set me up, and Giants fans aren't going to come after me again. That's between you. You see, I get it. You live in New York, and you want to be able to move about New York. So I got you.
My own business. It's funny, man. I will tell you this, and you know this, for playing in the league and being in front offices forever. When fans latch onto a player that they love, it doesn't matter what you say. You could be their grandma, and you talk about that player, there's going to be some problems. And I got that from some of our coworkers when they saw our original podcast where you gave Jackson Dart not a great grade, and they were like, "What does Ryan think he's doing?" Oh, here we go.
First of all, let's clear this up, right? Because there are a lot of C+ students in this.
You're looking
world.
at one.
Listen, C+ is not a bad grade. That's what everybody takes it as, a bad grade. C+ is passing.
Yeah,
right.
You're right. I agree.
So what's the difference? What's the difference between a C+ and a B-?
Because when you go home,
the decimal point is 0.4 versus 0.5.
Your grandmother gives you extra $5 for the B. If you get a C, you only get $1.
Hey, look, man, we shall see.
You're right. That's right. And I've said it before, and you've said it before. The way he's playing is not sustainable because he's just getting crushed out there. He's playing like he's a linebacker. So he's got to fix that. He has brought some excitement to the Giants, and they need a quarterback. So that's why I have him going 3 here instead of 25. And we'll see how this plays out as we get through the rest of this draft here. Next up, the New England Patriots. They originally took Will Campbell. What are you doing here?
So with the understanding that Abdul Carter would be available, could be available, and Will Campbell, had he not been available, I would have stayed with the Will Campbell pick because I think that's been a solid pick for them. He's dealt with some, what we thought he would have to go through, not injury stuff. Yes, although he is injured with an MCL right now. I did think he was taking his rookie lumps, as you would expect him to do. But I think, in my own opinion, because I'm looking at it right now, Harold Landry III has played really well for them, leading the team with 7.5 sacks. Chason, who was a free agent acquisition for him, 6.5 sacks. However, I know Abdul Carter has been dealing with some time issues, and he's missed the first quarters of games due to whatever he has going on off the field. But I think in a perfect world, had Abdul Carter been there for the Patriots at pick 4, they would have taken him. So I'm taking him here at pick 4 because I think with Harold Landry getting up there in age and Kayvon Chason, his career, he's revitalized himself. And I think putting Abdul Carter in a Mike Vrabel structured organization, I don't think you have those same issues. So I'm taking Abdul Carter.
No, I get it. Let me ask you this. And I don't think we have verification that Abdul Carter was showing up late to meetings. We don't know what it is. He apologized after the first incident. But my question is, knowing Mike Vrabel as well as you do, how would he handle young players not being on their P's and Q's?
Well, one of the big things that he talks about with all the players, specifically the young players, is communication. Like, hey, if you know you're going to be late and you have a viable reason, communicate. And he was like, and by communicate, that doesn't mean if the meeting starts at 10, you call me at 9:55 saying I got a flat tire.
Right.
Unless you got proof that the tire, you just had to pull over because your tire is flat.
Right.
But it's all about communicating. And listen, Abdul will be fine. He will be fine. But I think the structure in which a Mike Vrabel provides and just the discipline that he requires, I think would be good for Abdul, and I think he would do well in that system.
Yeah, that team is playing out of its mind. That team is so much fun to watch with Drake May and what Mike Vrabel has done in that defense that I don't even remember hating them as much as I did when Belichick and Brady were just dominating every single week. And I say hating because they would beat my Steelers just about every time they faced them.
And let me say this too, because I know there may be some Patriots fans who are like, well, why not stick with Will Campbell? The one thing I would say, and Will Campbell is lights out, like I said, have no problems staying with the Will Campbell pick. But watching them play the other night with Vidarian Lowe at the left tackle spot, I thought Drake May was masterful climbing the pocket.
Yep.
Giving himself time, because that's the one thing that you don't think about when you're talking about O-line play, is having the ability to secure the middle of the pocket. That's the center and both guards. And then, as long as the tackles can stay attached and they're not getting bull rushed into the pocket to condense the pocket, if they can run their guys by, man, I'm off the top of my head, I'm thinking about 3 throws and specifically where Drake May just climbed the pocket and gave himself so much more time, and he was able to make those second window throws. Great quarterbacks make okay offensive lines look a little bit better than they are because of their ability to manipulate the pocket.
Yeah, and that's an important story because Drake actually looked pretty good as a rookie, but he's made a ton of progress with Josh McDaniels. And I think, and you've talked about this from week 1 until week 3 now, Shedeur has gotten better about stepping up into the pocket. He still needs to continue to do it, but it can be night and day in terms of helping your offensive line and helping yourself, because when you back up, you're just asking edge rushers not to have to turn the corner and they can just come hit you in the mouth. So Drake May has been fun, legit MVP. Next up, Cleveland Browns here at 5. They originally took Mason Graham after the trade down. Mason Graham's been really good, and I don't have any issues with the way Mason Graham has played, but there's some dudes on this board that now have my attention. When I originally did this mock draft on my own, a couple of guys are off the board that are still there. So I gave serious consideration to Tyler Warren here. They took Harold Fannin in the 3rd, so Harold Fannin wouldn't be on the team right now because all the rookies are no longer – they're all free agents, so to speak. But now I got it down to 2 guys, and it's not Tyler Warren who would be a layup. It's either going to be, and I'll tell you, because I'm not, unlike you, I'm okay to share my information.
I mean, you're picking, so you have to. It's okay for you to talk.
Hey, listen, you can't talk when I got the mic. All right. It's either going to be Kelvin Banks, who was balled out for the Saints, or it's going to be Ted McMillan. And the question becomes, who is more valuable in the long term? Because this year is a wash. Let's be real. I think I got to. Oh man, this wide receiver group is not good. I'm going to go. I'm going to take Ted. I should take Kelvin, but I'm going to take Ted McMillan because they got to help these, whoever the quarterback is, man. It just ain't working when Harold Fannon's leading the team in receiving yards. And that's no slight on him. He's just a tight end. So Ted McMillan to the Browns here at 5. Mason Graham is still on the board, obviously. Next up, the Raiders, who originally took Ashton Genty. And I don't know who would have success in this offense. So I'm not necessarily going to blame Ashton Genty, but you got some decisions to make here.
No, I don't have any decisions to make.
Okay.
I am going with they need help in at a lot of spots. I'm not, that's no shot on them, but they need help in a lot of spots, and one of those spots being the pass catcher spot, because when your tight end is targeted as much as Brock Bowers is targeted and has that much an effect on the offense, you're not getting much production from your receivers. I mean, Trey Tucker is a de facto number 1 wide receiver. And the guy that I'm going to take, his numbers, he currently leads his current team in catches, targets, yards per catch, and touchdowns. And all of those numbers would be tops for the Raiders.
Yeah. So, hey, before you guess, before you tell us, not guess, let me just make sure people understand. No Jack Bech, no Dante Thornton on this team because, again, it's the redraft, so everyone's a free agent. The other thing I'll ask you before you give me the answer, why not re-up Jacoby Myers? Is he just too old and they didn't want to do that?
Well, I think I think a lot of it, you have to understand Jacoby Myers was signed by the previous regime.
Okay.
And his fit in that system. And maybe he just didn't see his fit in the Chip Kelly offense that they had at the time.
Gotcha.
And so he had been asking for a trade or a new deal, or specifically a new deal since training camp. And if they weren't able to get a new deal, he asked to move on. So I'm going to go with Emeka Egbuka from the Ohio State University.
That's a great pick. That's a great pick. He was on my list to go number 7 to the Jets, so I can no longer do that. But guess what, Striker? It doesn't matter because I know what I'm doing. New York Jets, I'm not even going to waste any time. I'm taking Tyler Warren. Tyler Warren might be a bigger initial upgrade, not over Emeka Egbuka, but in terms of just being closer to the line of scrimmage, and you treat him like you treat Brock Bowers, throwing the ball, and whether it's Justin Fields or whoever, Tyrod Taylor, Tyler Warren going to the New York Jets. And look, don't get it twisted. Armand Mimbu has been balling out. Like, he's been really good as the right tackle. So I understand that. And Mason Graham could have been a consideration here, given that they've moved on from Quinnen Williams. I mean, you couldn't go just like the Raiders and you were talking about. There are a million directions you can go if you're the Jets, including quarterback, but the quarterbacks are gone. Next up, Carolina Panthers at 8. Ted McMillan is now a Brown. That's who they took originally. So the floor is yours, sir.
So, I mean, just the fact that that he's even available here makes it easy to take Mason Graham here at this pick. If you can remember, what's Milton Williams? They had a deal originally agreed upon with Milton Williams to sign a big time deal with the Carolina Panthers as a free agent. But at the last minute, he chose to switch and flip and go to New England as a free agent. So you know that this position was a target for them, relatively high, I'm assuming. So you look at this D-line. This D-line's played well once it got healthy.
Yep.
And Derek Brown is obviously a force in the middle. Ashawn Robinson is just an immovable object, just a big man in the middle. But adding him to that group would give them a really, really stout defensive line that Ejiro Evero knows how to put those guys out there on the field. So I will go with Mason Graham here at 8.
All right. Next up, the Saints. They originally took Calvin Banks Jr. And again, like I mentioned, he's been playing incredibly well. Just to mix it up, I'll go with Armand Mimbu. It's a half dozen of one in my mind. Mimbu plays right tackle, and Tully Fuaga can stay on the left side if you want. Look, I'm not going to push back if you insist on having Calvin Banks Jr. here, but in the spirit of mixing things up, I just went with Armand Mimbu. Again, I'm indifferent, but if you like Tully on the left side, and I thought Tully did pretty good on the left side, Mimbu's been playing well on the right. That's the direction I'm going. All right, one more pick here before I take our first break here. The Chicago Bears took Colston Loveland originally. What's Chicago doing this time?
So sitting here looking at my board, Colston Loveland, I can tell you he's in the fold for here. Had Tyler Warren been available, to me, that would have been the slam dunk pick there. He was the number 1 tight end on my board last year. But I'm gonna do you one different.
Okay.
And this is no disrespect to Colston Loveland, because I do like Colston Loveland. But they still have Cole Kmet. And I know they like to employ a lot of 12 personnel, but I think locking down that left tackle position is key for them, because in the real world, they took Ozzie Trapilo in the second round, who started some at left tackle. And then the 2024 undrafted guy, Theo Benedict, has started some games at left tackle and played relatively well and helped them in the run game. But I think adding a Kelvin Banks Jr., who I thought should have been the pick here in real life, but he obviously went to pick before. I think solidifies that full transition for them and what they were looking to do with that left side, or just the O-line as a whole. And now you add a good emerging talent in Kelvin Banks next to a Joe Tooney at left guard, and you're locked in there for the next 10 plus years.
Yeah, and given the way the right side of the offensive line is playing, Darnell Wright is one of the best right tackles in the NFL. He is crushing dudes, and I think that would get Ben Johnson even closer to where he wants to be. And again, this team is playing out of its mind. I think they're not even as close to a finished product as the Patriots feel like they are, both with first-year head coaches and second-year quarterbacks. So, I mean, there's even more room for growth. But, yeah, I love this pick, and it feels like a layup, and I may have done you a solid by taking Membu there. Would you take Membu at 10 had he been there?
No, just
Yeah.
because Membu is a right tackle,
Right.
and like you mentioned, you have Darnell Wright. So had Membu been there or Kelvin Banks not been available, I would have stuck with the Colston Loveland pick,
Okay.
being that Tyler Warren wasn't there.
All right. Before we take a break here, let us know in the comments which one of these players is the biggest reach in your mind so far, picks 1 through 10. We will read all the comments, so I'm interested to see what you guys think. All right, Striker, let's take a quick break here. When we come back here, we'll get to picks 11 through 20 right after this.
You can always count on Sundays with the NFL on CBS and Paramount Plus. So even if you can't count on accurate expiration dates,
That is a rookie mistake.
or people appreciating your fashion sense,
Jim, the crowd is not on board here.
you can always count on Sundays with the NFL on CBS, streaming on Paramount Plus.
Glad we wear our good jerseys.
All right, picks 1 through 10 in the books. We're up to pick 11 here. Originally took Michael Williams, who unfortunately tore his ACL, and he was starting to flash a little bit. I mean, he's a high upside guy, was barely scratching the surface at Georgia. And I got a couple thoughts here. And I think what I'm going to do is I was thinking Will Campbell because he's still available, but I think I'm going to take James Pierce, the edge rusher out of Atlanta. And I want to get your thoughts, Rand, as someone who spent time in that front office in San Francisco. Michael Williams is a certain body type. James Pierce is a completely different body type. Could he work in that Chris Kosarek defensive line situation?
Oh, absolutely. Wide nine, go get it, turn it loose, play hard. Michael and obviously James Pierce had some off the field concerns that most teams had with him. But from a fit for the 49ers, you're talking about a bigger body in Michael Williams, who's 260, and the guy is still explosive and athletic. And so he sets physical edges, which is a big part of that San Francisco defensive front. But I like the pick here. I actually had him earmarked for my next pick at 12.
So speaking of which, by the way, 11 picks in, I think we've only had all first rounders. So we got to see some day 3 guys even come off the board here. Pick 12, the Cowboys. They took Tyler Booker, again, playing really well when he's been on the field and healthy. What are you doing for the Jerry Jones All-Stars?
So, like I said, for me personally, I would have taken James Pierce here. He has 5 sacks on the season, which currently would lead the Dallas Cowboys because James Houston is leading the team with 4.5 sacks right now. And I think I looked and I'm pulling up the numbers right now. They have 5 defensive ends that have registered at least 1 sack, and all 5 of those defensive ends have a total of 14.5 sacks. So they're not getting a ton of production. When you look at guys like just Denver's 2 starters, Nick Bonito and Jonathan Cooper, have 18 sacks amongst those 2. You look at Houston's Daniil Hunter, Will Anderson, they have 21.5 just between those 2 guys. So they have more than the top 5 guys that Dallas have. But for the spirit of this, and again, I made depth charts for myself here in terms of the pick. And so I say all that to say, by you taking James Pierce off the board, I considered Jalen Walker here as an edge rusher, but Jalen Walker isn't a real fit, so to speak, for this Matt Eberflus system. Matt Eberflus up front typically would like to have what the 49ers have, which is that 4-down, wide 9 type of look. So I'm going to stay with the Tyler Booker pick here because you said he's been playing really well when he's been in the lineup, and I think it's just really helps with Dak Prescott and this passing game being able to fortify the offensive line.
All right, I get it. And he's Jerry Jones, whether it's luck or not, seems to be getting some of these personnel decisions right, whether it's Tyler Booker, trading for Quentin Williams, or getting the first-round picks for –
Listen, I tell you this, to me, and we've said it before, like, I don't think the Cowboys have an issue drafting. I think they've drafted really well. I think it's the retaining part of those draft picks has been the issue, and just what they've chosen to do with free agency. So
yeah, fair enough. All right, next up, pick 13, the Miami Dolphins originally took Kenneth Grant, and this Miami Dolphins team is as up and down as you'll find in the league. And Kenneth Grant has been okay at times, but he has disappeared at other times. And while they have some needs, obviously, on defense, I went with Will Campbell here. They got to fix this offensive line. They have had some injury issues, but it all starts with Tua. And if you're building around Tua, and we'll see what happens with Mike McDaniel, either way, Will Campbell can come in, and if he has to kick inside for a year, whatever, I don't care. But you gotta have a plan beyond whatever this plan currently is, week in and week out. All right, pick 14, the Indianapolis Colts took Tyler Warren, who was better than advertised. And as you mentioned, you would have taken him before Colston Loveland had he been available for the Bears there at 9. What are you doing here, Chris Ballard?
this is where you go Colston Loveland.
Oh, all right. You're just swapping.
Yeah, you're just swapping because he is available, and you see the role that Tyler Warren has played for this offense. And I mean, Tyler Warren's numbers, he's second on the team in receptions with 58. And crazy part is what separates him from the leading guy is only 2 receptions. And then he's second on the team in yards, which is only a 5-yard difference between him and number 1. And he's second on the team with 4 touchdown catches. So you see the importance of the tight end in this system. And so I give them Colston Loveland here because the one thing that separates these two is Colston's ability to stretch the field vertically up the seams. And Tyler can do it too, but Colston Loveland is faster, although I think Tyler Warren is probably the more complete tight end of the two. But I think it's still a good pick for the Colts here to address the tight end position.
All right. Next up, the Atlanta Falcons.
And low-key, I will let's go back to that Dolphins Cowboys pick. Because I couldn't see it, I skipped my mind that Will Campbell was available.
Yeah.
Because that would be a really good pick there for them at left tackle. The kid that they took a couple years out of Oklahoma, I think Will Campbell would just be a much better tackle for left tackle, and maybe you could flip him over to the right side and replace the guy that's over there.
Yeah, Tyler Guyton played right tackle at Oklahoma for at least the last season. I don't know if he had any left tackle experience prior to that, but yeah, no, that's a good point. All right, next up, the Atlanta Falcons at 15. They originally took Jalen Walker, who you've talked about previously. I'm gonna dip outside the first round for the first time in this mock draft. And I had some thoughts about this young man coming out about his ability to play the run, but this dude's been hair on fire. Donovan Ezeraku. Oh, you thought I was going to take one of your guys that wasn't Donovan?
Mm-hmm.
Donovan Ezeraku out of BC, second-round pick of the Cowboys, and he's gotten better each and every week. And early in the season last year at BC, I had some questions about his ability against the run, and he got better as the season went on. But he can get after as a pass rusher too. And I think he's further along than Jalen Walker is right now. We know James Pierce Jr. has been balling out. So Donovan Ezeraku, originally a Cowboys pick in round 2, now 15th overall to the Atlanta Falcons. So why were you shaking your head?
Nah, we'll talk about it later. It's going to come up later.
Arizona Cardinals, they took Walter Nolan, who has only played a handful of games, but he has been pretty special when he's on. The problem is he's not been on the field a lot. I think he's played 3, maybe 4 games so far.
Yeah, and this was another one where I strongly considered staying with the pick because I like the pick for them there, and I think it's a really good pick. But I'm going to go a different route here because I know there's players available, and I know just based off of where this season has gone for them at this position, it's just been a revolving door. And so this is where I go with Ashton Genty.
Oh, man.
Go with Ashton Genty here because James Conner has the foot injury, which we don't know where that's going to take him in his career. I mean, James is 30 this year. He'll be 31 in May, and he has a $1 million roster bonus coming into the season. coming into the next season. So having another running back or having a running back that can carry the load, would really help this Cardinals offense out a lot.
No, I love that pick. For a second, I got confused. I thought I had the Cardinals pick a few picks ago, so I was thinking Ashton Genty here. But great minds think alike. I'm sure you would agree with that. All right, here we go. Cincinnati
now I want to see what you do here because I know you're picking somebody else, but I just want to see.
That's so disrespectful to Shamar Stewart, who's on IR, and he has had a tough go of it. Bengals picking at 17. They took Shamar originally. This one feels pretty easy to me because, they need help everywhere. Defense is where it's going to go. That part's easy. Which one? Let's see. When this young man's been healthy, he's been pretty good. And I think, we go back to the old thing we like to say a lot on this podcast is don't overthink it. I'm taking Will Johnson, cornerback out of Michigan. And I think he gives you some physicality. He'll help you in the run. He will light you up in coverage. And he's going to get a lot of reps on this defense. And there was no edge rusher here that sort of sparked my interest in terms of taking him here. So Will Johnson, second-round pick originally, 47th overall of the Arizona Cardinals, now going to Cincinnati. All right, Seattle Seahawks took Gray Zabel at 18. Gray's played well this year. What do you want to do here for the Seahawks?
Honestly, man, it's you can go in a bunch of different ways here, and like you said, Gray has played well in spots. So again, wouldn't have a problem staying there, but staying true to what the identity of this Seahawks team has become, which has been its defense. And having a player of this magnitude play in there because DeMarcus Lawrence is getting older, let's just say. And then you look at Boye Mafe is a guy that some teams were looking to trade for at one point during the offseason. So with all that said, I'm going to go with Jalen Walker, outside linebacker from Georgia. I think he'd just be a really good fit in this Mike McDonald system. He's currently tied for second with the Falcons right now with 5 sacks with his running mate, James Pierce Jr. And I just think that would be a complete player for this defense that can set those physical edges, that can rush the passer, and they can do some of that Baltimore type stuff where they like to move guys around, walk guys around into different spots. And I think Jalen Walker fits that really well for Seattle.
I love the idea of Jalen Walker, and they eventually took Nicky Manwari in the second round. Jalen Walker, Nicky Manwari, and the Mike McDonald defense feels like a lot of problems for the offense. All right, next up, the Buccaneers at 19, Strikers team. They took Emeka Egbuka originally, and he's long gone. And I think Jason Licht said at the time they had a top 10 grade on him, so he's played exactly like that. I'm going to keep the second-round train going here. They got a couple guys coming up for contracts at the end of this year. This guy would be in the mix day one. Carson Swessinger, linebacker out of UCLA. Go ahead and mark his name off your list because he's going to Tampa Bay. What do you think about that pick?
I hate you.
Come on, Carson.
So that goes back to our pick 15 conversation. That's who I thought you were going to take at pick 15.
Yeah.
For the Falcons, because that's who I had earmarked for the Falcons at 26.
Yeah, Carson's played out of his mind. I think he has an ankle injury. I don't know if it's high ankle or not, but up until the point that he got injured a few weeks ago, that dude was hair on fire everywhere. And that draft class, we keep saying it, Andrew Berry, those guys did a great job. We just get caught up in the quarterback conversation. Everybody else in that draft class is playing out of their minds. All right, pick 20 here, and we'll take a break here. The Denver Broncos took Jahdae Barron. Flashed at times, hasn't played a bunch of reps compared to some of these other guys in the first round. What do you want to do for the Broncos here?
See, this is one for me. This was the hardest pick for me, I'll say, because conventional wisdoms wanted me to stay with Jahdae because I understand how Sean Payton's draft philosophy is drafting a year ahead of a need. And so I get that and understand that if there's a role for Jahdae, he'll play a lot more. But if there's not, they're getting him ready for years to come. So I see that. And I know there was no bigger Jahdae Barron fan than you throughout the process. But then I also thought running back here in terms of like a guy like Amarion Hampton. But then you look at what that production, 770 yards out of J.K. Dobbins, averaging 5 yards a carry, and then R.J. Harvey out of UCF/Disney State. I say that to mess with Lige. He's got 4 rushing touchdowns. He's got 4 receiving touchdowns. And so they know what they're doing in terms of that pick. So for me, I'm going to stay with Jahdae Barron here at 20 because I believe in this kid and I believe in the role that they're going to create for him. Maybe you may not see it this year, but next year when he comes on. And this has, if you go back and you look at all the Saints drafts, and it's still their current draft philosophy, they typically draft a year ahead of a need. They did it with Malcolm Jenkins when they took him in the first round all those years ago. And it was like, does he play corner? Does he play nickel? And they moved him around to a bunch of spots, and he played some corner. He played some nickel before finding his home at safety. So I believe in the pick, and I'm going to stick with it.
Yeah, I actually, in the little mock draft I did for myself, I had Ashton Jeanty, had he been available, being a layup here because, you know, if you can do that with Bo Nix and the Sean Payton offense, I don't know what kind of damage Ashton Jeanty would be able to do. But Ashton's long gone in our actual draft here. All right, let's take another break here. When we come back, let's see if another quarterback finds his way into the final 12 picks here, and maybe even a day 3 guy or two. We'll talk about that right after this.
When you need your sports news all the time,
we've got breaking news to bring to you.
CBS Sports HQ gives you a snapshot of all the sports that matter to you. When you need your sports in a snap, find it on CBS Sports HQ, streaming free anywhere you are.
All right, ran down the home stretch here. My Steelers are on the clock at 21. They took Derek Carman originally. He's been good. There's so many names available on both sides of the ball that would also be impact players for the Steelers, a team that is spiraling into the depths of terribleness. So I make up phrases here. There's so many directions I can go. Man. So I think we got to – the offense is what the offense is, and I don't think that's going to change by adding 1 player or 5 players. I'm going to go defense here, and I'm going to get crazy. So hold on to your seats. I thought about Malachi Starks. I thought about Xavier Watts, 3rd-round pick of the Falcons. I'm going to keep scanning down the draft board. I'm going to go with 6'7", 355, 60-pound Deion Walker, defensive tackle out of Kentucky, 4th-round pick of the Bills, who was playing some pretty high-level football. He looked like he was uninterested last year. He did have a back injury. His 2023 tape was, as BMAC likes to say, hot tape. And he's been flashing, man. And I think you need someone. And Derek Carman has played well when he's out there. Keanu Benton has not been the same player for whatever reason. They drafted what's YA's last name? The kid out of Iowa, and he's been okay. But you need someone who takes up 3 gaps and let Cam Hayward do Cam Hayward stuff. And they got to get better up the middle. So I'm starting with Deion Walker. He's going to be the Darnell Washington version of the defense with his girth. What do you think of that pick?
No, I get it. And he was in conversation. He was in conversation for being a late day 1, early day 2 pick coming into it. And so, like you said, he's paid relatively well. And this pick reminds me, what was the Notre Dame defensive tackle with similar measurables? Stephon Tuitt.
Oh yeah, he was a great Steeler.
From a size and length perspective, and I think Tuitt probably played a little heavier than Deion plays.
Yeah,
because I think if you've ever seen Deion in person, you can see the basketball in his background because he just walks and moves smooth like a big athlete. And I think Stephon Tuitt probably played a heavier, more physical game.
Man, they missed Steph Tuitt in the worst way. I haven't thought about Stephon Tuitt in a while. So thanks for bringing that up. And things were a lot rosier in Pittsburgh. All right, next up, pick 22, the LA Chargers took Omarion Hampton, who's been good when he's been on the field, but he has had some injuries. He has had to battle. He's not back yet. I think he's close to coming back. What are you doing for the Chargers?
So Chargers was one where you look at running back, but then you think about the production they've gotten out of Kamani Vidal who leads them in rushing, who's averaging 4.5 yards per carry. So it kind of scratched it there for me. Then you thought about offensive line, and you have, the Gray Zables and the Donovan Jacksons. You have those guys that are available, but a lot of their injuries, they've had the injuries at the guard spot. I don't think Zion Johnson has played, consistently enough. And Mekhi Becton can't stay on the field. And then both of the tackles, we know what that is. But to me, taking an offensive lineman at this point would be a little bit more reactionary to the injuries that have happened. And so you passed on him at the repick at 21, but I'm going to take him here at 22 for the Chargers and take Derek Harmon.
That's a good pick.
Because you look at the production that he's had so far with the Steelers, and all of his numbers would be, even though he's played in 3 less games than a lot of the guys for the Chargers, his production in terms of tackles would be second amongst the defensive tackles for the Chargers. And I, for one, had this defensive line group as a spot that I thought they should really address during the draft relatively early, but they did it. So I'm going with Derek Harmon.
No, that's a good pick. You're not going to get any pushback from me on that. He's played well this year. He just can't do it by himself. Team's a mess, man. Next up, Green Bay Packers. This is my sad voice. Pick 23. They had Matthew Golden originally. He's battled injuries as well. I think I'm going to go in a different direction. Christian Watson's come back so strong that Matthew Golden has not necessarily been missed. And I'm going to go with Walter Nolan. Now, he has battled injuries as well. He's been less available than Matthew Golden. But I think when he is on, we've seen what he can do. And I love the idea. They just lost Devontae Wyatt, unfortunately. But you keep rotating those guys in there, and they're getting after them on the front four. And Edge Cooper is one of the best linebackers in the league already. That secondary is playing well. I'm going to take Walter Nolan.
No, that's a good pick, and especially for that scheme, which is attack. Yeah. And I thought about Walter Nolan for the Chargers, but their front is more about two-gapping, holding the point, bigger physical bodies. And so that's where, Walter Nolan, who's probably right at 300 or a shade under 300, I thought Derek Harmon would be a better pick. Vikings at 24.
Here, before you go, I got a proposition for you.
Mm-hmm.
We didn't talk about doing trades, but this popped into my head as we were going through this process. I am John Lynch, who you know quite well, who hired you in San Francisco, and I'm calling you Kwesi Adolfo Carthon. I will give you McCorkle Jones for a second-round pick.
McCorkle Jones for a second-round pick.
Now, talk through this. Would John Lynch and Kyle be interested in that at all? Because Mac Jones has been pretty important to them when Brock's been injured. And would Kwesi and KOC think about this? Because obviously the end of the conversation is J.J. McCarthy. We're not sold on him. That's why I'm bringing this up.
Well, I say it would be, yes, from the 49ers standpoint, if you could pick up an extra 2, then yes, you would be interested in the conversation. But I think if you are the Vikings, you don't do it because of the fact that you invested so much into J.J. McCarthy. And although he has not played well at all,
right, you
have to see this through.
What does that mean? How many more years?
You have to see what next year brings for him. We have to realize, again, as bad as he's played, he's still a rookie.
Yeah.
And I know he was drafted last year, but he didn't touch the field.
No.
And he's still a rookie that is playing for the first time in a system that he should be more comfortable in because he had a year to just sit and get the mental aspect down. But this is a spot, if you're the Vikings, you have to just, this is the bed you laid. So you have to ride this out until you get to a point like the 49ers got with Trey Lance, in that, okay, this guy isn't, we know for sure he isn't the guy, let's move on. And to me, after 1 year, you can't do that. And because look, the reclamation project they did with Daniel Jones and with Sam Darnold, and what we're seeing now, we talk about it all the time across the network. We have to be patient with these quarterbacks. That's it. It's as simple as that.
And Kevin O'Connell's said that louder and more frequently than anyone. And his patience is being tested here with JJ. So you're going to hang up the phone very politely and tell John, thank you for your time. And you're going to draft. What are you going to do at 24 then for the Vikings?
So 24 for the Vikings, I think Donovan Jackson was a really good pick for them. Wasn't sexy, but I think it was a good pick for them. I also have Malachi Starks down as a potential pick for them because of the importance of the safety in that system. And with Harrison Smith, I think Harrison Smith is 36 years old, and there's a lot on the plate of the safety in that defense under Brian Flores. But I'm gonna jump out the window here a little bit. And
right. Hope you got your parachute on.
A part of me jumping out the window a little bit, and I'm saying a little bit, is because of the lack of production you've gotten from the quarterback position. And the best friend to a young quarterback is a run game and a safety valve underneath in terms of the passing game, which they have. They just haven't been able to get there.
Nope.
And they had a good offseason acquisition with Jordan Mason, who's currently leading them in rushing. He's going to get the tough yards. But Aaron Jones is a little long in the tooth and no longer has that explosiveness that he once had. So I'm going to go get them an explosive guy that can hit the home run. And all of his numbers that we've seen this year, 625 yards rushing, 4.8 yards a carry, would lead the Vikings. So give me Travion Henderson. Running back, Ohio State.
He's played really well. Second round pick of the Patriots. And there was some first round buzz on him on draft day that he might sneak into the back of the first round to the Broncos. They took RJ Harvey, as you pointed out. Nah, I get it, man. You have to help JJ if you're going to roll with him. And the redraft I did, I had him taking Tyler Shuck here, and that's what prompted my Mac Jones conversation. Like, would you rather have Mac Jones over Tyler Shuck? Either way, if they're rolling with JJ, you got to help the poor man out. Next up, pick 25. The New York Giants originally took Jackson Dart. I had Jackson Dart going third overall. So what are we going to do here? I got some thoughts. And, it's easy to say wide receiver because Malik Neighbors is hurt. Defense is not good. Front four is pretty good. Sexy Dexy hasn't played quite up to snuff yet. I'm gonna improve the secondary. Now, Xavier Watts is on the tip of my tongue because he's played really well, but I think I'm going to go with the tried and true Malachi Starks here. So I'm going to take Malachi Starks to help out the secondary, and that just feels like an easy, not overthinking it pick. Xavier Watts has played great. But Malachi, I feel a little more comfortable with at this point, given the things he's asked to do. All right, pick 26. The Falcons took James Pierce Jr. with their second first-round pick. He is long gone off the board. Stryker, what did the Falcons do earlier, just to refresh my memory? I think they were pick 15. Donovan Ezraku. So you got an edge rusher already ran, and now they took two edge rushers originally, so you can certainly do that. What are you thinking here for? So
first of all, let's go back to your Giants pick because I want to push back on the Sexy Dexy. Not
good.
Playing.
Yeah, do that.
I don't know if you saw Sexy Dexy's comment when he was asked in the locker room after defensive coordinator Shane Bowen was fired. I don't know if you saw his reaction.
I did not.
And he kind of smiled and was like, I don't know, man. I don't know. I guess something had to be done, but I don't know. Was kind of his reaction. But here's what I want to say. And this is for Giants fans. This is for all football fans. You have to understand the structure of the defense and what they're asking Dexter Lawrence to do. In this defense, Shane Bowen had been a Mike Vrabel disciple and been under Mike Vrabel most of his career. And if you look at how the Patriots play their defense, up front is to build a wall. And that starts with the nose tackle, right? Where you're holding a point. You're holding a point. And yeah, there are plays in there where you can shed, get off, and make those plays. But the number one thing is holding a point, maintaining your gap, and doing what they call build a wall. That's why the Patriots run defense is so tough, because you very rarely get guys out of their gap looking to backdoor block and to make a play in a splash play in the backfield. It's all about playing with discipline up front. So that's what they've been asking Dexter Lawrence to do as the nose tackle, is to hold the point and build a wall, which in previous defenses, yeah, they want him to hold the point, but there are moments in there for him to get off attack, work to an edge, and make those plays that we've grown accustomed to seeing him play. So I wouldn't go out on a limb and say that he's not playing well. We just have to have a better understanding of what they're asking him to do.
He's doing what he was asked to do, and that's why he was smirking at the comments.
Yeah.
All right. Are you okay with the Malachi Starks pick?
Oh, yeah. Malachi was my guy.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I thank you for the clarification on Sexy Dexy. So, I don't want Giants fans coming after me like they come after you. So I appreciate that.
And yet we live to see another day.
We do. All right, Donovan Raku first. What's next?
So Falcons here. This is where I had Maxwell Hairston. Maxwell Hairston was one of the guys I was considering here.
Yep.
But you took my Carson Schlesinger.
Yes.
I also had Jahdae Barron as a spot here. But I'm gonna not really jump out of the window. I'm just gonna say this was a guy that they ended up taking who has been a complete baller for him.
Yep.
And I don't know how he lasted to the third round, but he did. But I don't think anybody would be mad at him at pick 26 playing the way he's playing. So give me Xavier Watts here at 26.
Yeah, easy. And I'm guessing if I had taken Watts to pick before, you're taking Starks here. And Watts has bigger numbers, and he's been more impactful.
He's 66 tackles on the season. He's got 3 interceptions, which leads the team, and he has 7 PBUs on the year.
All right. Yeah, I'm not mad at that at all. And I had him as a first-round possibility. Pick 27 here. The Baltimore Ravens originally took Malachi Starks, long gone. I'm going to push Rain out of the way, and I'm going to jump out of a window here. My guy, he has struggled with drops a little bit, but I think he fits what this team needs at this position because they have some guys coming up. And this offense is sputtered, which is wild to say out loud when you're talking about the Baltimore Ravens. We know that Lamar's had the hammy. Come on down. Arondé Gatson the second. Tight end. Man, once they figured out that he could do the things he could do as a move tight end, he's been doing them. As I mentioned, he has some focus drops. So he can take over games, man, in the middle of the field. And Mark Andrews is a little long in the tooth. He's still making some plays. Isaiah Likely is in the last year of his deal. Arondé Gatson, I think, is an upgrade over Isaiah Likely, who's a good football player. And, got him on the rookie deal there. So how you feel about that? Because they got some needs on defense as well.
No, I mean, I will say it's a little rich. And I say that because you still have to figure out what you're going to do with Isaiah Likely in terms of his contract. And I would think that this offseason they would move on from Mark Andrews and figure out to get something done with him. And so you take a tight end at the bottom of the first, which they have much bigger needs.
Yeah, they do.
So that would be the only thing for me. I thought it was a bit rich, but the story would be great. So yeah.
All right. We'll find out. Next up, pick 28. Detroit Lions took Tyleik Williams, who has played well. We just haven't talked a lot about him. But what do you want to do for Detroit here?
Yeah, man. Like I was, probably like Tyleik a little bit more than most. He's coached in college by one of the best defensive line coaches in college football, and just has a unique understanding of how to use his hands. And he's really instinctive with good feel. But man, I'm looking at it now. Just the amount of injuries that Detroit has dealt with on their offensive line. And I just feel like they need to fortify that at this point. And so this guy, to me, just fits a Dan Campbell, Brad Holmes team. And so this is where I would take guard Gray Zabel for the Detroit Lions.
Yeah, that's a great pick. They had Tate Ratledge, but I think I'm with you. And Tate's battled injuries too. Come on down, Gray. All right, next up. Washington Commanders, Josh Connolly Jr., left tackle at Oregon, He's played right tackle for the Commanders. Last week was probably his best week. It's been a steep learning curve for him. Man, they got some needs, especially on defense. All right, let's see what I got here. I got to dig deep because I had them going with Deion Walker originally. There are no more defensive tackles left. Let me check real quick to make sure that I'm not missing anything because, oh, man. I'm glad Connerly's improving, but I think they have other needs. And I think what I'm going to do here, I'm taking Jihad Campbell, linebacker who was originally drafted by the Eagles. They have Frankie Louvu, who I love. Bobby Wagner, I don't know how much longer he's going to be playing at the level he's playing at. He's not as elite as he once was. He's still very, very good. Jihad Campbell gives you some athletic versatility, and you can move him around a little bit. They need some edge rush help, but there's no edge rush here. True edge rusher that I felt comfortable taking. So Jihad Campbell in the redraft here. Pick 30, the Buffalo Bills. Took Max Hairston, who's battled injuries starting with training camp. He's been in and out. Didn't play a lot last week. I think he was healthy. Only played 13 snaps, if I recall correctly. And, wide receiver is what fans want Brandon Beane to do, and they need some help there too. What are you going to do for the Buffalo Bills?
So, looking at, because right now in our redraft, we have Tet off the board. We have Emeka off the board. And those were in real life, those were the only two that went first round, correct?
Matthew Golden went the first round.
Matthew Golden. I am going to stick with improving this defense. And I have a better understanding of the Maxwell Harrison pick. And I like Maxwell coming out, but watching that Kansas City game and them actually having someone on the perimeter that can run with those speedy Kansas City Chiefs receivers, and watching him run stride for stride with Xavier Worthy covering the deep ball, I was like, okay, that's why they go get this guy. That's why they take him. But I'm gonna go with another spot in the secondary that I felt like they've needed to address for some time now. And just understanding the way Sean McDermott calls his defense, I'm going to go with safety Nick Emanwari.
Oh, that's a good pick. God dang it. Yeah, that dude's an enforcer, and he's picking it up too as the season progresses, for sure.
Because I think if you put him again with what they're asking him to do, or what they would be asking him to do, because he could play down in the box, he could play some back in the post. And Cole Bishop has played relatively well for them. And so having a Cole Bishop, Nick Emanwari type safety combo can give you that rock and roll, feel and fit on the back end.
Yep, absolutely. All right, I'm looking at my draft board here. Next up, the Philadelphia Eagles took Jihad Campbell, who just went 2 picks earlier. I mean, I could say you could take a wide receiver here if you want to take a Luther Burden or a Matthew Golden, but I don't know if that's going to fix what's going on with this team. So I'm going to take Tyler Booker, who is still Donovan Jackson. Tyler Booker, I think, was drafted early. Yeah. I'm going to take Donovan Jackson because they've had some injuries along the offensive line. Tyler Steen's playing right guard now. I know Donovan plays on the left side. Move Donovan over there. I don't care. Let's get this sorted out, because if Saquon isn't working, nothing else seems to work. So let's start in the trenches and figure it out from there. Donovan Jackson off the board. A few picks after he originally went to the Vikings, pick 24. Last pick in this redraft here, Josh Simmons, who I would have taken 4th overall to the Patriots had he been healthy this year, but he's battled some injuries and he missed some time for some personal reasons. So pick 32, the Chiefs took Josh Simmons, who was day 1 starter, but he's missed some time. So what do you want to do for a Kansas City team that they might miss the playoffs, man?
So I didn't expect for Josh Simmons to still be here. I figured that you would have taken him somewhere in the teens, because and we've talked about it. He talent-wise, he is a top 10 talent when healthy. And so I was looking at running back here, and thinking about what a Quinshon Judkins could do with this team. And again, not realizing that Josh Simmons would still be available. So I am stuck between Simmons and Judkins.
Yeah.
And where to go with that. Because, in the spots where Jalen Moore's had to play, he's been a little up and down. He's had moments where he's like, oh my God, like this guy he's a really good fill-in. But we've also seen this Kansas City team play and go to a Super Bowl with Joe Thuney at left tackle, right? So they're able to figure it out. So although I love the Josh Simmons pick, and again, I'm 50-50, basically flipping a coin. I think right now what this Kansas City Chiefs team is missing is that guy in the backfield that they can turn around and give the ball to, that they can pass the ball to. And so I'm going to go with Quinshon Judkins at pick 32 for the Kansas City Chiefs.
Yeah, and it just goes to show you that depending on the very pick before, the Eagles took offensive line to help Saquon Barkley. But it just depends. And we talk all the time about running backs being overvalued. I don't necessarily think that's the case. We saw Travion Henderson go to the Vikings at 24 to help out a young quarterback in J.J. McCarthy. Ashton Genty went earlier as well. So I think you can take running backs when everything else isn't perfect just to help out an offense that's sputtering. So I get it. And Josh Simmons has not been available a lot as well either. So you have to take that in consideration. All right, Stryker, how would you grade this draft?
I was actually going to chime in and say Carson Schwarzenegger when he got to the Bucs, so I was very happy there.
Yeah, there you go. There you go. So that's an A+.
His lead in was as soon as he started talking. I don't know if you saw it. Like I flipped to my second page and wrote an X next to his name by the Falcons at pick 26.
Skull and crossbones. All right, here's what I want to hear from people who are watching and listening. So we had Aranda Gatz in the second, Deion Walker, 2 day 3 guys. We had Xavier Watts, Carson Schwarzenegger, Quinshon Judkins, Travion Henderson, just to name a few, day 2 guys who ended up going in the first round of this redraft. Let us know what you think in the comments about which picks seem crazy to you, maybe which picks you liked, maybe which picks you missed. But that's it, Rand. I thought we did a pretty good job.
Of course. Now we'll see what the comments say.
We will see what the comments say. All right, that's a wrap, folks. Thanks to all you guys who watch and listen and are interacting in the comments. We appreciate it. We will see you next week because we're doing a 2026 mock draft, and I'm looking forward to that. We'll see you guys in the next one.